So, a different topic.
Good evening, Mike.
Good evening,
Mike.
John. Oh,
Whoa.
wait, whoa. John, did you kidnap somebody again?
No, not again. This isn't no.
This is the first time he's kidnapped someone.
Yeah, we have
That
our first
you know
guest.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just move on. This is our first guest on the show. His name's Matt, and he's a good friend of ours.
Welcome,
and
Matt.
He thinks about stuff.
Thanks. I didn't know we were friends.
Yeah, you did.
That was a nice compliment. Thank you.
I thought
so yeah,
that
he's
he
just gonna
thinks
join us in-
about stuff was a nice compliment, but you know.
Well,
That is these days. Yeah.
I think everybody thinks about things. He didn't say that I have well thought out opinions of them. He just said I think about things.
No, honestly, I think that saying that someone thinks about things is a compliment.
All right, I'll take that as a compliment then. Thank you.
But yeah, you know, he's a good guy, and he's fun to talk to about stuff, and I think we'll have a good time.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad we have our first guest, and I'm glad it's you, Matt.
Thanks, Mike.
So, this week has just brought us a bevy of topics to choose from, but
Is that the third time you've used the word bevy with me today?
probably.
I think
yeah.
it is. I think you've said, was that like Oprah Winfrey word of the week?
I don't really watch
Is that
Oprah
a thing?
Winfrey, but
I feel like that's a thing.
Well,
That
it's
may be a
interesting. It's interesting because I find myself doing this too, and maybe this topic isn't even on the list, but
Welcome to a different topic.
I hear interesting things, and so like I started watching Jordan Peterson videos, maybe like a month ago, and he uses the term proclivity, and I found that I was using that in conversations for like the next week,
Yeah,
and in scenarios where it was like this is just overkill,
that's interesting.
and I think it's a way for me to remember the word.
Proclivity is just out of bounds.
Yeah, well, it's because I think I have a proclivity to use terminology to remember it. So
Yeah, there you go. I like it. Anyways, so we have a bevy of topics today.
Yeah, we have a bevy of topics. I'm going to start off. We've been delving into a lot of tech, a lot of science, a lot of things along those lines. I'm going to start off a little bit lighter today. How much do you two like Hogwarts and Harry Potter?
I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, honestly. My wife is, though.
yeah, I'll be honest, I've never actually seen it, but I heard a psychology explanation about the Quidditch game in there that really made me interested to watch Harry Potter.
A psychology analysis.
Yeah,
Of Quidditch.
yeah.
Interesting.
Jordan
Wow.
Peterson talks about it in a video, and it's incredible the way he describes he describes the game, and he's talking about this phenomenology, and basically the snitches. He describes it as phanesthai, which is like that which shines forth, and he's using that as like the things that you're curious about that come forth and they beckon you, and you don't know where they come from. And he's talking about the people that chase that. And talking about how there's two games going on at once. It's a really fascinating video. I'll send it to you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
like to see that.
We'll definitely need to add that video into our source links because I want to see it. Well, an interesting little tidbit. So, and this is probably going to be quick because there's not a huge interest in Harry Potter in the room right now, but
There is in your room.
well,
Just
yeah.
not in this particular room.
Okay, so I'm a Harry Potter fan. I'm going to be going to the Wizarding World with two of my sisters after celebrating her graduation just to go. No kids, just three adults going to the Wizarding World. Not weird at all.
My wife would join you and leave me here with the child.
So I came across a tweet that said that you could go and live at Hogwarts. And it's, of course, Hogwarts not being a real place, it's not meaning actually live at Hogwarts, but
Of course.
the hall that they used to stage the Great Hall in the Harry Potter films. They have built a couple of apartments right by that hall, and you can rent out these apartments. I want to say it said for £2,800 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw the article. Yeah, it was $2,800.
So,
Or pounds.
UK bucks, anyways. I mean, I don't know what
Right.
that equates to in US dollars specifically, but
Me either.
for a couple of apartments that are that unique, that tied to a popular intellectual property,
Yeah,
I'm surprised
$2,800 a
it's
month is
only
extremely
$2,800. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
yeah, well, I think they want to make it like attainable for the people that, you know, are really into Harry Potter, because they're going to have people lining up for that probably. Is it
Yeah.
like a permanent residence, or is it like you can stay here for a month?
it kind of looked like a permanent residence, but I don't see how, if they've only got like 2 of them, how they're not going to have people killing each other trying to get into these, as serious as some people really get
Right.
into Harry Potter.
Yeah. I mean, $2,800 a month that's cheap
You know what we should do?
for something like that anyway.
I have a perfect idea. We don't have to love Harry Potter to do this. We can come up with $2,800, and then we can just sublease the thing for the appropriate amount of money, or just let people pay us to come take like people are going to want to take Snapchat videos of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's
all
true.
right, dude, $200, snap all you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out next.
Yeah.
You know, like, thank you next.
That's
Ariana
a great idea.
Grande.
And actually there's a model for that now in LA. There's this guy just has a shop that's, I don't know exactly where it is in LA. It's in like a major thoroughfare, or not like a major tourist area. But it's just a neon sign museum. So he just collects neon signs for free. He just like finds broken down ones in a dump, refurbishes them, gets them hooked up. And he's got a tablet that controls all the ones that turn on, so he can control all of them by category. So he's got them like,
that's cool.
these are all purple, these are all pink, these are all green. So we can turn on all the green ones, or all the red ones, or just green and red, or all of them, or none of them. I mean, he's got full control over all that. So what people do is they pay him per hour to come in and take like Instagram shots.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you're talking about. There's already a model for that.
Yeah, like, I
kind of
mean,
thing now.
if I were super wealthy, I'd be doing the same thing for people who want to like pretend to be living the high life. Like, yeah, dude, pay a couple $100, like come sit on my couch, you know, in my $10 million mansion, and like take a picture.
Yeah.
You know, or like, you know, have a video where you, like, my maid comes up and you're just like, yeah, grab me a bottle of wine. You know, I don't know much about wine.
Give me
but
a wine
yeah.
from the cellar.
Yeah.
I don't know why I gave it the Sling Blade voice.
Ketchup and mustard. Or wait, no, what is it? It's biscuits and mustard.
Biscuits and mustard.
Yeah. I love Billy Bob Thornton. Like,
Yeah.
so versatile.
This,
Like think about
Swiss
it.
Army knife.
Watch that movie and then go and watch Bad Santa.
Oh, I know.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what? Is this the same guy? Like, did you ever see him in the, it was like the Baytown, what's that movie? I can't remember. It's like got 3 brothers, and they basically go around bounty hunting for the main police officer. I forget what it is.
It's not ringing a bell.
Yeah. Well, he's in that, and he's a bad guy in it, and he plays it spot on. Very
Oh, yeah.
versatile.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm watching the flat recording line, thinking about how much of this I'm going to cut out.
And
It's
now it's
deadly.
going to stay in.
Yep.
Well, it'll be great too if you cut out the silence, so that it's like we're talking and then you're just like, well, this is going to get cut out. So it's like you edited it. You like took out the emptiness, and then people are just like, what's going to be taken out?
That
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if that's what happens.
Well, it will be now.
Yeah, right.
You don't have free will. I've determined that for you. It's happening.
Yeah. Well, see, now I want to. Now something is compelling me to resist that urge.
Yeah. I did that on purpose so that you edit this well, because I want to be presented in a great light.
Oh.
Not really.
Well, I think it's becoming kind of tradition to get kind of dirty after the first topic and
Oh, we got to.
try and line
gotta
our
shower.
pockets. Yeah.
We
Well,
got to
well-
hop in the shower together.
Let's get dirty first. We always hop in the shower after we just do the dirtiest thing to make a little bit of coin. So
it's time for the.
Yeah, well,
okay. It's a little early, but I forgive you.
Well, I mean, if you didn't hear much of a break, if you just heard me talking about getting dirty and then I'm talking about right now, we didn't have anything, we didn't have any ads, but if not, I hope you enjoyed the ad.
So you said getting dirty, and it reminded me, we talk about my YouTube channel, Remedy Arcade, on here every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I just finished editing one of I think it was the last episode for A Way Out, the game we played.
Right. Right.
And you said the funniest thing I think you've ever said, and that we're getting chased by cops in cars. We're in this big high speed chase, and these cars are slamming into this truck and banging us all over the road. And Mike goes, they're out. They're ready to be dangerous. And I about died. Like, 'cause it was funny in the moment, but listening to it over and over while editing, it had me in tears. They're ready to be dangerous.
I'm using that next time I get a girlfriend and it's about to go down.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be dangerous.
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And then I'm going to laugh because I'm going to think of you, Mike.
Get soaped up. I have got to record a sound bit for this of a shower turning on and singing.
Yeah.
I keep saying it, but we keep forgetting to do it before we do the episode. But anyways, let's hop in the shower and do a little bit of thinking in the shower for some shower thoughts.
It's awkward. There's 3 people in this particular shower this time. It's weird.
And like, can I say that I love the term shower thought because I actually have shower thoughts. I have a grease pencil in my shower I write down things that I think of.
That's awesome.
This is going to be maybe a little bit TMI, but I sit down in the shower and I do like mindfulness meditation in the shower. We talked about this.
Yeah.
And I think about things very often, and then I get out and I'm like, well, what the hell was I even thinking? So I got a grease pencil and I started writing it down.
So do you have a board or something in there, or do you just write on the wall?
I just write it on the wall and then get a magic eraser and just comes right off.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. The past few episodes, the shower thoughts have been, from my warped mind.
Originals.
Yeah. They've been originals. This week
all of the thinking that I do in a shower these days is about the 2 YouTube channels I'm trying to run. I don't have any of these like transcendent ideas anymore in the shower, or those, having fake arguments with people. Like that stuff just doesn't happen anymore now. It's just like, fuck, what am I going to do about this? And how do I do this? And what am I going to do for this thumbnail? And that it's bad.
Yeah, you should allocate time. I have an hour every morning. It's on my calendar. It says brainstorm. And that's like I shut off all technology and I sit in a room.
It's a good idea.
Sheet of paper, whatever I'm thinking about, I just write it down.
Yeah, that's a good
that's a great idea.
What's funny about that? So this is right now. It's late for you because you're normally in bed by this is an hour past your bedtime because you get up at what 3:30.
I go to sleep between 8 and 9, and I'm up between 3 and 4.
Yeah. That sounds just terrible.
But it's an adjustment. But the fantastic thing is, the first 5 hours of my day are just totally uninterrupted.
Yeah, that is like pretty cool.
No one bothers me.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's asleep, and it's so I don't even have to worry about really turning off my phone. It's like I'm just gonna go in a room and just brainstorm on random shit, like whatever I happen to be thinking about.
Yeah,
and it's just been really productive. And it's like I have on my calendar. It's like meditate, brainstorm, email and catch up between 5:30 and 6, and then I'm heads down for 2 hours. Then I go for a walk, and it's like that. The first chunk of my schedule is that.
Nice,
and it's just nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like I feel more productive, even though maybe I'm doing the same stuff, like the same amount of stuff. It feels more productive. So.
Yeah, that structure probably helps.
Yeah,
I would hate to walk in this weather though. Just
dude,
way too cold.
Yeah,
I mean.
Well, I actually prefer the cold because I don't even own a pair of shorts. Well, that's not true. I own a pair of Chubbies and they're very short.
Chubbies?
So they're like the short shorts, like the skies out, thighs out thing.
That's awesome.
But I never wear them.
That's your ice swimming shorts, right? Your ice diving shorts.
Well, they're actually swim trunks. I've never worn them. They're like hot pink and like hot. They have like pineapples on them. It's like
yeah, I remember when you got these.
Yeah.
You sent pictures out.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Not on though.
And actually, I think I have two because I have some with chili peppers on them too. Those are actual shorts, but they're also short shorts. But yeah, so I prefer coldness because I can always layer up.
Yeah,
I can only get so naked.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's like if it's
That's my
sweltering
argument.
heat, it's like I just can't. I'm sweating and like I can't get naked and go for a walk because I'm going to be arrested. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it depends on where you
So-
do it. I mean,
yeah.
I like being naked. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, this is the perfect opportunity because we're like walking to the shower. you
Yeah.
know, as we
Yeah,
speak.
I mean, it's kind of weird wearing swim trunks in the shower, although it's
Take them off, big boy.
it's a group
You
now.
could be like a never
so-
nude, like
Never nude. God.
Oh.
Yeah. You could.
Well, the thought for today is your brain's like a stupid new CEO of an elite company. It has no idea what's going on in your body 80% of the time, but the employees know what they're doing. And that was by BYL_NI. I don't know how to pronounce that.
See, I
Bill
immediately have
Nye.
a problem with that because that's not true.
right.
You know?
Think about any autoimmune deficiency.
Right.
Your body doesn't necessarily know what it's doing.
Yeah.
So it's a dumb CEO and the employees are dumb.
Yeah.
I think
That's me.
There's very little interdepartmental communication for sure.
Yeah.
Well, but that's just it. It's not. I think one thing that needs to be said to modify this thought is that your conscious brain, because you're not consciously aware of your autoimmune system attacking an infection or a disease or anything. It's just doing it. But that's like a department of a company, like the shipping department of a company. The
Right.
shipping department's going to run whether the CEO is sick for a month. They're still going to run. The CEO doesn't know anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, I guess.
So
Good thought.
but,
Yeah.
yeah.
You are now breathing consciously.
Oh, God. I hate it when people do that. I saw some asshole was wearing a shirt that said something like that, and it was like, it was like that, whatever it was, and it ruined my day.
But-
like the rest of the day, I would find myself talking, and then I would have to exhale a lot because I had a
Yeah.
whole bunch of extra air.
But see, the interesting thing is when you get into mindfulness, that's actually a good thing. You want to be mindful of the breaths that you're taking, right? It kind of centers you and
Right.
brings you back to the present moment. So in a way, when someone's doing that, they're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
You just don't want favors from people.
You mentioned the mindfulness thing. Have you heard of the Waking Up guided meditation app from Sam Harris?
I have not.
No. You know Sam Harris.
Yeah,
So yeah. So I've been using the Waking Up app.
Okay.
And I'm like 8 days in, I guess. But it's great. Everyone go check it out. This isn't sponsored. He tells a story in a video I saw one time a year or so ago that he was on a meditation retreat, and it was a non-speaking retreat for, I think it was 2 weeks. He's been on a bunch of them. I'm probably getting them mixed up, but it was, you don't speak to anyone. There's a bunch of people there. It's a big outdoor thing out in the wilderness. And so you don't talk to anybody, but there are times where there's communal eating, everybody shows up to eat at the same time, but you're not supposed to speak. He said that at the time he had only learned meditation in the way that you just described, where you only think about your breathing. And he had a realization sitting out on this he said it was a big rock overlooking a lake. It was just this beautiful, perfect, serene place to take yourself out of the chaos of the day or whatever. And he realized while he was meditating that he could not focus on his breath because there was a bird chirping, and this bird was just there all the time. And so he realized that the meditation isn't about your breathing. It's about being mindful.
Right.
And so he started focusing on the bird, and he said he just was like, slipped into this flow state where he could have sat there the rest of his life. There was something, it clicked in him that it's not what you're focusing on, it's that you're focusing.
Right. That you're focusing in things around you. And like so I use Headspace is the app that I use. And there's a part of, depending on which one you use, there's a part of it where he'll talk about, focusing on your breath. That's how you start. And then it's, go head to toe and like do a survey of your body, and like how you feel, and then listen to the sounds that are around you. And then there's a part where it'll be like, if your mind starts to wander, that's cool. Just take a note of it and bring it back to the present moment. And that, attention and focus are really like a muscle, right?
Yeah.
That you can kind of flex it. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And then there's a part where it's like, okay, now let your mind wander and think about whatever you want. And then, you do that for maybe 15, 30 seconds.
It's a controlled wandering.
Yeah. It's like, okay, go free. And then it's like, okay, now bring it back and listen and focus on the breath. And so it's a really kind of holistic in the moment thing. And I find that when I'm done, then he's like, open your eyes. And basically it's like, you just sit there for a minute and just like kind of observe how you feel in the moment. It's crazy. I don't know why it works the way it does, but fascinating.
I don't want to spend the entire show without Mike getting to say anything.
I was just enjoying the topic at the moment, but I will say it reminded me of a tape that, and for those of you who might be listening that have never heard of a tape, it's an audio device that uses magnetic tape to store the audio. Anyways, so my dad had a tape when I was early teens, so this would have been in the early 90s.
Is this like a cassette or a VHS?
Cassette tape.
Or an 8-track or okay. Gotcha.
It was cassette in this case. We did actually inherit an 8-track player in the house that we bought, but totally different story. Not much of a story. That was pretty much the whole story. Anyways, the cassette tape was a self-hypnosis tape. And a lot of the techniques that Matt was just talking about were techniques for getting into a deep relaxation for the self-hypnosis. Now, I don't remember what happened after the relaxation and you were the points where you were supposed to go under, and the tape kept on going. And for all I know, I could have acted like a dog for 2 weeks, but I mean, it was very relaxing.
Yeah. I always wonder like how much of that is legit, like you see things like Darren Brown where he like people are suggestible, and I buy into that. But I remember a time I went to a hypnosis show, and my sister got up on stage, and the guy hypnotized everyone and was like, you're going to act like a chicken. And I'm wondering if it ever actually worked, or if they just did that because they wanted to feel accepted and like they were a part of the group.
Right.
And it's like, maybe it's just maybe that's just an exercise in like mob mentality and like how people are malleable only because they want to be accepted and not because they're
Darren Brown. I think it was Darren Brown. He tested that exact thing. He had a group of actors come in that were supposed to be auditioning for a part.
Okay. I didn't see this one.
You didn't see. Oh man, it's exactly what you're talking about. I forget what he called it. It was social adjustment or something, social something. So what he had was this line of chairs, maybe 12, 15 chairs.
Are you sure this wasn't on Minefield?
No.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But so this is the setup. They had this room with like 12 or 15 chairs. They had one or two actors that were in on the bit already sitting in the chairs.
Oh, I have seen this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep going though. This is interesting.
Yeah. So they had these two actors already sitting in the chairs, and they knew what was going on. So the first person who is, I guess, the victim of this thing, doesn't know what's going on. So this person comes in and is told to just sit down, and I think they're given some papers. They're supposed to like write out some stuff about like a bio or whatever. And then just seemingly randomly, the other two people just stand up in place.
Well, there's a bell that goes off.
A bell, that's right. There's a ding. And so the first the first couple of people just stand up and they don't talk about it. They don't communicate. They just stand up and continue looking at this sheet that they were given. So this guy who's sitting there, who has no idea what's going on, just kind of looks at them and then just stands up. And because, I mean, they did it, so it must be the right thing to do. And the bell rings. And so, okay, I'll stand. Well, this goes on until they've got all of these chairs filled. And every time there's a ding, I think there was like one person who just refused, but it was like 11 out of 12 people were standing every time the bell rang, but nobody ever told them to do that.
Right. Well, and the interesting part about that I really enjoyed was at some point, the people that were in on it left the room and everyone continued to do it. And
everyone kept doing it.
And like new people that came in started doing it too. And there was one person that like look around, they were kind of confused and they're just like, I don't know. Well, they were doing it, so I'm doing it.
Yeah.
This is established protocol. I mean, this is what we do. I've seen a couple of things like that.
Think about how that happens going through a century of civilization. I mean, up here in North Dakota, we've got our own little community of people here, and we do things and say things that are specific to this area, and that may not be, I can't think of an example at the moment, but that's because I'm in it, right? So that somebody else might look in and be like, oh, that's weird,
Although I'm getting
it's interesting that probably
tired of the land.
Same thing probably happens. The what?
I'm getting kind of tired of the land. I'm kind of wanting some water, but that's another subject.
Well, I've been trying to tell you should convince your wife to sell everything and get a houseboat.
Well,
take it out to the Gulf Coast.
I don't know if I want to go Gulf Coast though. I mean,
go directly into the next hurricane.
I can't eat seafood, but I hear the lobster in Maine is really good.
It really is, and it's interesting. I've been to Portland, Maine, which is weird to think about, and they have some really incredible lobster there. It's very delicious. But I also don't know if it was a placebo.
They've got some really good pizza there. So
yeah, see, I was worried that New York, because you hear like New York style pizza is supposed to be really good. I was worried that I would have a placebo effect. It turned out that I didn't like any of the pizza I had in New York City.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing. I wonder, so like when someone says that, for example, like Chicago deep dish pizza is the shit, right?
Right.
There's a group of people that just take that at face value and they're like, okay, that's great. I'll go try it and make my own opinion. Mm-hmm. But does that affect people in such a way that some people have placebos where they enjoy it because they're like, oh, this is the best ever? And it could be a mediocre pizza and they've convinced themselves it's great. And then on the opposite side, are there people that are like more critical because this is now like I've put this as the best pizza in the world and you have to like suss it out.
Right.
And now you're like hypercritical and you're like, this is not the best pizza.
Yeah, that is probably what happened to me actually. Yeah. We asked a cab driver in New York City where he goes for pizza. Uh-huh. And he told us it was this pizza place that was in an alley somewhere and there was almost no one there. And they didn't have any tables. They didn't even have a fucking door. Like there wasn't a door. It was outside. I mean, it was just
was a hole in the wall.
Brick. It was literally a hole in a wall. It was a long brick alleyway. And then there was a brick like carved out of this. There was a section of brick carved out where they had a brick pizza oven. And I was just like, I was hating all over it. It took forever to get, which, it's pizza. It's, supposed to be good. You shouldn't mind having to wait. And then the crust was too charred. I didn't like the cheese was too thin. Like I was just hated all over it. There's nothing about it I liked.
Well, and so like how much of that is for him, how much of it is good because it tastes good?
Right.
Or how much of it is just like he has a fantastic experience and so the food just tastes better because he's in a better mindset.
Yeah.
So it's like Yelp is fantastic because I know I can avoid shitholes, but at the same time, it sets these expectations in my mind that like I just want to tear down.
Yeah. You know? Just choose to go to any place on Yelp that only has 3 stars.
Yeah, or just don't use Yelp.
Or don't use Yelp. Yeah.
You know what's funny?
Do it, but yeah, I don't know.
I saw. I think it was either Alton Brown or one of the Food Network personalities was talking about how there's these location specific specialties like pizza in New York, red beans and rice in Louisiana or New Orleans specifically. But he was saying that in his opinion, the place that's famous for something is the last place you want to go to experience that food, because they made that flavor and then they got famous for that flavor, and then they strive so much to retain that one specific version of the flavor that they think is popular, to the point where it's been just homogenized too much into a
Sure.
yeah, it's like too much of a plain flavor, and it loses its special spice. It loses the uniqueness to it, because the person that's doing it doesn't care about it actually tasting good. They care about it tasting like what it's
Keeping the
quote,
legacy
supposed to taste like. Yeah. So
well, I believe pretty strongly that there's nothing that can't be improved upon.
Oh yeah.
So if somebody comes out with some great new dry rub for some barbecue, that will get famous, but then other people are going to find ways to take that as a base and improve upon it.
Yeah.
So it can't be the best forever. Someone else is going to change it.
Yep.
It's a good point. What even were we talking about? This is
that actually came off
started
of
from
the
a shower
thought of the CEO of an elite company being your brain, and it morphed into.
Well, it's a different topic.
Yeah, that's the great thing about a different topic. It starts with one topic,
and maybe
it
why we
changes
will
to a
never
different
have an
topic.
audience.
Yeah, that you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I know.
10 whole people clicked on the Facebook page over the past week. It was great.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It definitely was not. I was definitely not one of them, because I don't use Facebook
I've
anymore.
actually deactivated my Facebook profile.
Oh man, I'm envious.
Yeah, because you can still keep Messenger.
Yeah.
So I've just deactivated
cool.
like the. They've separated it, so like it used to be
Okay.
when you deactivated it, you lost everything. So like I still have Messenger, I still have a profile, but it's just I don't log in. It's like no one can go to my page and see me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm still on Facebook is because a couple of years ago, people were setting up a party, and I didn't check Facebook at all at this time period. I had a profile, but I didn't even look at Facebook. I didn't do anything with it. And then my sister comes up to me and was like, "Well, are y'all coming to the party this weekend or what?" And I'm like, "What party?" "My birthday party." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Nobody invited us to anything." And she's like,
Yeah, there's this whole
did it on
microcosm
Facebook.
happening on Facebook that if you're not on Facebook, you don't see.
And I actually don't like that.
Yeah, me neither.
I
and
hate
so
that.
I've started doing this very thing I'm about to. This is segueing into something that I find very important. I prefer the personal communication. So like people will email me now,
Mhm.
and I call them, and I'm like, "Hey, I just wanted to respond to your email," and they're like, "What? Why didn't you just respond to it?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, because it's like I care about what you said.
Right.
I want to like call you and make it personal, and then it's like I'll send a CYA email when I'm done.
Yeah.
But it feels better. I feel like you can connect better, because it's when I'm sure you've experienced this, probably both of you, is you get an email and you're like, wow, that guy's a dick. And it's like, and then you like talk to them later and you're like, oh, okay, well, they just meant something totally different. And had I been able to hear their voice, there would, I wouldn't have thought that they were a dick.
Yeah,
So,
or they were just crazy busy and couldn't hack out more than 4 words. And
or
no capitalization.
and then you
or
don't get like
punctuation.
the where it's like they just respond with their signature, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like,
Thanks.
so I can tell if they actually appreciate it. I call them, I'm like, here's the response. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks so much, that's really great.
Yeah.
And so it just feels better to me.
Have either of you guys ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People?
No, I actually have the Audible book for that, but I haven't listened to it yet.
A huge amount of stuff in that book is completely useless for remote workers.
Yeah.
And like in my situation, in your situation, like, we work from home.
Yeah.
I don't interact with anybody other than my wife and my daughter most days. And so as a result, my dad had a master's, I think, in psychology, at least a bachelor's in psychology. That he didn't use it for work directly. but he loved that book. And so, when I got old enough to realize the importance of things like that, I decided, well, this is what my dad was into, so I went and check it out. And I could see in his life for sure, he lived that book, and he was a very successful businessman as a result.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that wasn't the only thing, but it definitely contributed to it. And so I started putting these things into practice, and, ended up I won awards at 2 companies I worked for,
Yep.
for being, a model employee. And really all I did was just not be a dick.
Yeah.
It was just really common courtesy things. And so much of that has broken down because I can't come to your desk. You send me an urgent email, such and such is broken. And my response isn't to email you. It's not to call you. It's not to send you an IM. I get up off my ass. I go to your desk and be like, tell me, like, walk me through this. What's wrong? Excuse me. And people respond to that. And like Mike, like what you said, so much of that communication happens non-verbally. And when you're already not having a verbal conversation, there's no non-verbal communication to be had.
Yeah.
Matt and I are in the same room. We're like 4 feet apart. And we keep looking at it like I'm where he's like, he's watching me talk, and like we are having that body language communication, and I'm having a difficult time not treating this like a phone call because really it's weird. I haven't had that experience until now, because now that I have someone who's not on the phone in the room with me and trying to talk to someone who is on the phone, I find both of us are on this side trying to wait for Mike to talk.
Yeah.
And so we've had several times here where there's these long stretches of silence, and it's like, who's supposed to talk right now?
Yeah.
But Mike and I don't have that problem when it's just us.
Yeah. The solution, I think, is a video conference.
Yeah, that would probably do it.
Because then you could see
We actually
it.
did that the first show or two.
Yeah. Because then Mike could be nodding and you could be like, we're on the same page. Or he could be scowling and you'd be like, well, yeah. I don't know how R-rated I can get, so
We're coming up on the hour mark, and we haven't touched Matt's stuff at all. And I don't really know where to start, because I really liked a lot of the stuff we were talking about before the show even started.
Yeah.
But also your personal development stuff. So why don't we do that? So Mike, if you don't mind, I'll kind of shift us here. So I've known Matt now for a decade, plus or minus a year, somewhere in there.
It's like 2007, I think.
2007, 12 years.
Yeah, it's 2007, 2008.
I think it was probably 2008. So I'll call it 11 years.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was August 2008.
That makes sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I've known you for a long time. We work together. We have been through some shit. And something that I noticed about you really early on is that you have these like peaks and valleys of obsessions. And it seems like in the last couple of years that's evened out. But when we first met, you would find something that you would laser focus on and everything else fell to the wayside. Yeah. And then when you finally came back to reality, you were the preeminent expert on whatever that thing was. And it was shocking a lot of times. And one of the thing that stands out, and I think has probably had the biggest impact on your life was your interest in JavaScript.
Yeah.
We were both software developers, self-taught. We ended up working together at this company that he actually interviewed me for the job. And in this like gray suit, I think it was, you had on gray slacks and this gray shirt and a tie.
Yeah, there was a while there where I wore slacks and a button down and a tie every single day since I was hired for like probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So he hires me for the position. I end up getting the job. And things were fine. And then just like one day, one of our coworkers comes over to me and is like, "Man, is Matt okay? Like, what are you talking about?" He's like, every day he comes in, he just puts on his headphones and he sits at his computer and doesn't talk to anybody. I'm like, I don't know, man. Just go ask him. Like he seems fine at lunch. Like we go to lunch and we eat hot wings and he seems like a perfectly fine. He's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. It's like, I don't know, man. I feel like there's something wrong. And then like 6 months goes by and he comes back and he's like, I've mastered JavaScript and he knew everything there is to know. That's an exaggeration, obviously. But
yeah,
I mean, he went from a intermediate level JavaScripter to far beyond that in a pretty short period of time. And that was when I realized that you have this pattern. We have a mutual friend that is a very good pool player, and he was trying to get us to go play. We went and played with him a few times. And then I come by your desk at work and you're like studying the masse and shopping for pool cues and you obsessed, not long, but you did obsess for a little while about the pool stuff, and you got really good at the game with not playing a whole lot. And I think that this probably started when you were a child, because you're a martial arts champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have this pattern of finding things that you're super into and devoting a huge amount of time to it and getting really good at it. And then in a lot of cases you walk away from it. It stops being challenging would be my guess. Or you just lose interest for whatever the reason is. And then you move on to the next super interesting thing. And I said all that to say that you've kind of found your way into, I'm going to say self-help, but that's, if you were to write a book, it would probably be it would be flavored like a self-help book.
Yeah.
But you've kind of gone into this direction of being super interested in introspection and figuring out things about yourself. And I just would like you to talk about that.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So, well, I think I think I've discovered why I do that. And it's things call out to me, right? They're interesting to me. And so when something gets my attention, it's like, okay, I've got something to learn from this and I don't know what it is. And so I got to figure that out.
Mm.
And then, I learn whatever it is I'm supposed to learn. And then at that point, it's like, okay, I can move on.
So do you find that it's that you learn the thing, and then if something else in that interests you, you'll stay in that family of things and go to that interesting thing.
Yeah.
And then if you run out of branches of interesting things, you just jettison that activity entirely. Is that kind of how that works? Or maybe not entirely.
Yeah. But I mean, it's because even though I stopped doing that particular thing, it's not like I don't lose the knowledge that I gained from it.
Right.
Like you can take that and move it into something else. So I think in some ways it's like I learn everything that I feel I can learn about it, or everything, to a point where I'm like, okay, this has been useful and now I'm ready to move on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've discovered if there's like a set amount of time that is. It just, it just happens. Like right now it's painting.
Yeah.
So
you painted a beautiful butterfly.
I did.
Yeah. Confession time. The only person in the world I've said this to is my wife. And that's only because I just recently realized it. Those things that you're describing, Mike, where I found something that was interesting and then it didn't last long and it went away. The reason, the vast majority of the time, those things didn't mature into bigger things is as it's so weird even saying this out loud. I was literally afraid to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And because like, for whatever reason, it even sitting in here doing this show and doing Remedy Arcade, if my wife is home and it'll get in my head that she can hear me in here doing this. And even though she is totally supportive of me doing all of this and spending unreasonable amounts of money on equipment, and she has been nothing but supportive, and she gets excited every time an episode drops, and like she's completely on board. She hears me in here, she's probably proud of me, but it gets in my head for some reason, even now, knowing that this is the case, that I am the way that I am. It still gets in my head that she may have an opinion other than what she has expressed to me. And so, getting into card magic, I didn't know anybody else who was into card magic. Yeah. And I started feeling like a weirdo. Like, why am I so into card? I had like I have a bag in this room somewhere that has all of my cards, or a bunch of the cards. I'm looking for it. I don't see it. I have a gallon Ziploc bag that's full of decks of cards that are like trick decks and these fancy novelty decks. And Some of them are just absolutely destroyed because I manipulated them so much the edges are torn and bent. But I started thinking like nobody else. I started feeling like because I had nobody else around me doing that same thing, that I was weird.
Right.
And so I would stop and I would find something else that was interesting. And I was like, man, I kind of want to learn how to throw a yo-yo. I mean, I see people doing cool yo-yo tricks and I'm interested in that. And Mike was kind of interested in it. And so I kind of talked him into it. And we spent like $50 on like one yo-yo, like a real nice weighted. So we bought these nice yo-yos and we kind of flipped around for a little while and I started feeling self-conscious about it because it's a weird hobby. And I think I honestly, in having the introspection, like the mindfulness stuff, this stuff comes up and I start having these realizations while I'm meditating, that I think the reason I played World of Warcraft so much is because I finally found something I was interested in and I was surrounded by other people who were too.
Yeah.
So I had, we worked with, my boss was in my guild and that was probably shouldn't tell the HR department that, but and I was in a World 100 guild, you were too, not the same one, but we were, I think that's what it was. I finally found this group of people and I quit playing when the guild I was with broke up and all of those people just kind of dissolved into the ether. And then I started feeling that way again. I don't know. Kind of in a
sense, you lose your purpose, right? You lose your direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it was interesting too, is you could have found people that were just as interested in yo-yos if you had known where to look or found a way to connect with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of that is, I'm kind of scared. Scared is a strong word, but I hesitate to go out into meeting strangers. For instance, there's a lot of comic stores all over the country that have events on certain days, like Dungeons and Dragons Sundays and Friday Night Magic and, whatever it is. And I wouldn't be caught dead going to one of those places alone. But if I had a friend with me, that could hold my hand, my delicate baby hand into this, I'm a grown ass adult, I should be able to just walk my ass into any comic book store and go sit down and play D&D for a couple hours.
Yep.
But I can't bring myself to go do that by myself. And so I don't get exposed to people with like interests. And so those interests fade away.
Yep.
And so that's why, a couple of years ago, it got into my head, I guess a little less than that, about a year and a half ago or so. It got into my head, I want a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn the man, I'm doing this. And so now I have two and it's a hell of a lot of work. But I don't feel like I'm working.
Yeah.
I love every second of this, and I'm looking up watching the audio capture right now, and I love watching it scroll across the screen, and I'm eating this shit up, and so I don't care if I find somebody else that's into this now.
Right.
But it took me 36 years to figure this shit out.
Yeah,
it's really frustrating.
Well, and it's interesting too because I had a similar thought. I used to struggle to. This sounds silly just even saying this, but I used to struggle to go eat places by myself. I was really self-conscious about just like go into a restaurant by myself. And people would be like, why? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what it is about it. And so what I started doing was, I don't know if I told you about the movie program I do. It's like $20 a month. You can go see 3 movies a week. So I was like, well, this will be my thing. It's like, it'll be dark. No one can look at me, so I'll go do this on my own.
That'll break out thing.
Yeah. And now it's like, I go, up to a bar and have wings by myself, it's like, and it's gradually, it's actually, I just had the biggest feat, quote unquote. Like a couple weeks ago, I went to painting with a twist by myself.
Oh, cool.
And it's like,
Kate wanted to go to that.
Yeah. It's like, a bunch of people in there and it's like, I had an opportunity to kind of like be the center of attention in a sense. They were giving out, it's like, they give you aprons and this apron had a design on it. And to get it, you had to like make a noise and go into the center of the room. And I'm like, that's totally against what I do. Like, I don't, like that's my shadow right there. It's like, I don't want the limelight. Like, don't, acknowledge my team and not me because I don't want people to look at me. It's weird. Right. And so like, I was like, all right, I have this opportunity and I'm going to just do it. And I did it. And it was like, all right, it's not that bad. But, like leading up to the decision, I was like sweating bullets.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And I did it. And, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So, to your original question before we got off on this tangent, the project that I'm working on, it spawned from, I've had people make comments like, you learn things quickly, or, how do you learn things? I taught for a little bit and trying to explain to people kind of my thought process. And I'm like, well, maybe this works for other people too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, it was just kind of like my approach to it. And I objectively looked at myself and I'm like, well, I don't think that I necessarily learn things quickly. It's just that I spend a lot of time with them.
Right.
So it's like, you might look at me and be like,
Right.
well, you learned a lot in 6 months, but it's like, well, that's like 13-hour days, 6
Right.
months, and like every day.
Right. That's that obsessive stuff I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. So I've kind of I've been like trying to formalize my ideas on this. And it's like, what I've arrived at is the key to, at least for me, learning new things. And I've experimented kind of taking my own advice with painting. And it's like, number one, I just got to do it, and it's like, well, why do people struggle to do things? It's like, well, they set the bar really high.
That's my problem.
And so it's like, well, okay, you've got to make your goal like a reasonably humble goal. You've got to set the bar sufficiently low. Like,
publish the video.
yeah, just do it.
Get that shit out there.
So it's like, schedule time in your day. Like, I'm going to spend an hour a day and I'm just going to do this thing. And by the end of the day, I'm going to have something to show for it, whatever it is, and I'm just going to say that I'm going to suck at this, and I'll be the worst. So like for me, it's like, I'll be the worst painter every single day. And it's like, now if I look at the stuff I did when I first started, where it's like a stick figure, and like,
so hang on that for a second.
Yeah.
So you said be the worst painter every single day.
yeah.
And I think that like there's something really beautiful about that. Because that is the worst that you can be.
Yeah.
Because you improved from yesterday.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So the idea is like, compare yourself. This is a Jordan Peterson rule. Compare yourself to yourself yesterday and not to people today.
Right.
It's like, what a phenomenal thing to say. It's like, well, holy
It
shit, that makes a lot of
so
sense.
obvious.
Yeah. And
But
so
it isn't at all.
I was like, well, I just do it. So like when I started JavaScript, it was like, I didn't know you saw some of the code, like where 1 equals quote 1, like you saw that. And I'm like, it worked. And I'm just like, I look back at that now and I'm just like face palming, but it's like, I did it and it worked. It did what I wanted it to. And then I learned how to make it better, and so it's like, allow yourself to be as bad as you could, or as good as you can, but accept that you'll be as bad as you possibly can be.
Right.
And, it's like schedule time in your day and like force yourself to do it. And even if it's like I can only do this for 15 minutes a day, but I'm going to do it every day. And that's really just been my approach, is like, let myself do it. And then I look back, and I actually found this really interesting thing, because what I like to do is I like to study people who have done it and kind of emulate. So like I went through these when I was explaining to students how to write code. It's like you go through these phases. It's like phase 1 of being a developer. You emulate, period.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Stack Overflow, I copy a piece of code and I paste it in.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it works. It works, and it could very well be a really crappy implementation, but I did my job.
Right.
Phase 2 is I go to Stack Overflow and I copy and paste something, and I can kind of sort of understand what it's doing.
Right.
All right. Now, phase 3 is I copy and paste it. I know what it's doing, and I can tweak it to make it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the transcendent moment is I look at Stack Overflow and I see the principles by which they've developed this solution, and I can apply those principles in my own way entirely.
Yeah.
So, that's really the kind of pattern shift that I go through in these things. It's like, I'm just going to allow myself to paint. And so a really good way for painting specifically, Rembrandt did this. So Rembrandt's famous artist, he used to paint himself like every 3 months or so.
Rembrandt triangle. He was the one that would do those portraits that are really brightly lit on one side.
Yeah.
And the triangle would show up on the nose underneath the eye.
Yeah. So he did a portrait of himself.
Weird.
And he did a self-portrait like every 2 or 3 months. Did you say wait?
No, I said weird about the triangle.
Yeah. And so what I started doing, and this was at the suggestion of someone else, and I thought that this was a really good idea, was to paint the same thing. So I've started painting the same thing every month. It's like every month I go and I paint the same thing. And now it's like you look back at that and it's like, okay, I can see this progress. It's like, okay, I'm painting this flower and it looks like the very first one. I'll send a picture to you later. It looks like an orange catcher's mitt with a black ball
I saw
in it.
I did see it. You did,
Yeah.
But you painted it.
Yeah. So
but you were a painter, and regardless of how bad of a painter, you were being a painter. And
yeah.
you just improved on being a painter over time.
Yeah, and so someone suggested this, and then I was like, well, Rembrandt did this, and this is really interesting. And so like I look back at that, and this was in November, I think. And so I've got one for November, December, January, and then I haven't done the one for February yet. It's like the end of the month is tomorrow, so I need to do it. But if you look back at the one when I first started, where it looks like a catcher's mitt with a ball in it. And then it's like, okay, this kind of looks like a flower. And that's like the one for January, I'm like, this actually looks like a flower. The perspective's a little bit off. It's a little bit impressionistic. It's not very realistic, but this has a lot more structure.
Yeah.
And then the butterfly I sent you, I think is my best work. And I'm like, now I'm actually getting things like shading and it's all been experimentation. And so I think a really interesting experiment for anyone wanting to learn something new is just like allow yourself to do it.
Yeah.
And then just track the progress, like make yourself do an update a day or an update a week or an update a month or whatever. Set an interval that you can stick to.
Yep.
Because the plan that is 80% optimal that you follow 100% of the time is better than the plan that's 100% optimal that you follow 80% of the time.
Yeah.
So just...
Or 0% of the time.
Or 0% of the time.
Which would be the case for me.
Because if you set unrealistic expectations on yourself...
schedule.
Yeah. There you go. Because if you set those unrealistic expectations, you're just going to let yourself down.
Mm-hmm.
So just don't have them. Just do. And so
it sucks being so old and because people, I'm sure everyone has had that experience where someone tells you something and you can even repeat it to other people that need advice, but you didn't really understand it until one day it kind of clicks. Everything we're talking about is that. Like you want to learn dodgeball, then go play dodgeball. Well, I don't want to go. Well, then you don't want to go learn. You don't really want to learn dodgeball.
Yeah. Or you do, but there's something holding you back, right? It's like, what is it that's holding you back? And it's like, well, I've got I'm thinking of the best dodgeball player in the world. Maybe he's a professional dodgeball player, gets paid money, to do this. And I'm not like him.
Right.
So I'm not a dodgeballer.
Right.
It's like, well, you are, if you want to be, like he didn't start it. Like there's natural talent.
Yeah.
But think about it like this. Professional football players, right? They practice like every day.
It's literally their job.
Yeah. So it's like, if someone who is good at something has to practice, like, hello.
Yeah.
You do too.
Yeah.
It's like you don't wake up and you're this idiot savant football player. Right. I don't even know if that exists, but.
Well, and another thing that's interesting about that too is you don't even really know necessarily that you will or won't be good at something.
Yeah.
I thought programming was interesting, and this feeling has since gone away thanks to the corporate machine. But when I was first learning how to program, even up until we started working together, anytime I learned some new concept, it literally felt like I was peeling back the layers of the universe.
Yeah.
Like it felt like magic to me, even though I understood it. I knew, I know what a memory pointer is. I know how memory gets pushed around in a machine. I've written the assembly to do it.
Yeah.
But it still felt like magic. It was still so cool.
Yeah.
And this machine is doing what I'm telling it to do. And when it screws up, it's because I screwed up. I gave it a wrong instruction. And that experience was so awesome that, and I kind of lost my train of thought here, but anyway, damn it, I was going somewhere. It's gone. Never mind.
Well, and I think to that point too, I think you naturally get better at the things you're interested in, which is why I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead. Go.
So what I was saying is you don't necessarily know that you're good at something until you start doing it. And really, I just had an interest in programming, and I just started researching things and like, well, how do I do this? And I need to do this same thing 8 times. well, I found out that I don't have to write that code 8 times. I can write a loop.
Yeah.
And then like, oh my God, I just learned something new about the universe. That's, and then you get interested in, well, what other kinds of loops are there and how many languages have loops? And you start getting into all this, it peels all this stuff back. You learn all kinds of stuff. And the next thing you know, you've had a 10-year-long programming career.
Yep.
And you're good at it. There's a lot of concepts with computer science as a whole, but just in programming where a knowledge of mathematics is hugely important.
Right.
And so that's a failing that I have. And so if I wanted to go do like genome computation, I'm going to be lost there because I could probably help solve some of the algorithms and data structures and things like that. But like creating something from scratch, like a new language, it's some statistician somewhere needed a programming language that was suitable for doing stats, and he creates R. And I don't have that capacity. I couldn't just go and be like, well, I need to make a better podcast editing software. Well, that's probably a lie. Actually, I could probably do that. But
you need to figure out. You need to figure out how to articulate properly the thoughts that you have, so you make calculus.
Okay.
Like something like that.
Yeah.
But I would argue that
right.
People. I think people have a.
Thank you, Isaac Newton.
Yeah, I think that people have a lot more capability than they give themselves credit. So, I think that barring actual mental deficiencies, right? Like anything like that people can pretty much learn damn near anything. It's the natural talent that sets people apart. Like,
sure,
I could work my ass off and become an athlete that's suitable to be in the NFL, but the amount of time it would take me to do that makes it not worth my while.
Right.
But I think that I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think everyone has the ability that they could unlock this capability. It's like, you just have to think about it in terms of time investment.
Yeah.
But you never really know how something's going to take off, to your point, which is, I think, why when things kind of are just like, hey, come here, I'm like, okay, well, let's see where this goes, because who knows? It could be, like programming as a hobby for me turned into a job when I was taking phone calls, and I was like, I'm really bad at documenting these calls. So I'm just going to, as a hobby, write some software to do it. Lo and behold, that I become a software engineer, no degree. And then, fast forward multiple years later, I'm teaching people how to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting. You're up, Mike.
So thanks. I needed the cue. I can't see you, so I couldn't tell. What I'm gonna pivot here real quick. Move to a different topic, and it'll probably be our last for this session.
Boo.
Because and in reality,
I like talking
we've
into a
already
microphone.
gotten a longer. What?
I said I like talking into a microphone. I don't want this to be over.
Well, in reality,
My
this
sweet,
is
sultry
going to
voice.
be the longest show we've got on record so far, which isn't a problem with me, but
well, it might be. It might also be our second shortest, if depending on how much of the. So for those
depending
people
on
who
what we
don't
can
know,
salvage,
we lost almost half an hour, a little over 20 minutes of Mike's audio midway through this. So if there's a weird blip in the edit early on, that's why.
That's why.
Yeah.
So, you said something about mental deficiency, and there's been a couple of times that intelligence has been brought up in the course of how you learn, Matt, I guess is the best way to define that subject. It's been an interesting topic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to diminish the topic.
But let me shit all over it.
This is a terrible.
You should though. You should shit on it though, because conflict is how you actually transcend. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't learn anything from you guys just nodding your head and going like, that's cool.
Right.
I'm going to learn from Mike shitting on me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a part of your shit and I'm going to do something positive with it. And that's going to be grow because it's a fertilizer and things grow in it.
Well, and the only thing is that not everybody is going to be able to learn that way, right? So that's how you learn, and it's a great way of doing it. But
do they really not? Are they not able to learn that way though? Are they really not? Because I think let me put it to you like this: like you take your kid for example, like you have them do something.
Which one? I have 4.
So pick one, right? So like for example,
pick your favorite.
Yeah. So when they were a kid,
ouch.
Right. So let's say they're a kid and you're like, I want them to help me set the table, for whatever reason. Maybe you want them to learn to set the table, or maybe you just want to be lazy, which would be me. It's like I had a kid to do chores. So, do the damn chores. And you have them set the table. The first time they're going to do it all fucked up.
Yeah.
It's going to look terrible. And you're going to go over there and be like, okay, well, like this is what it's supposed to look like, and give them a frame of reference, and they're going to do it again and they're going to get better. And they're going to do it again and they're going to get better. And then eventually they're going to set the table and it's going to be like, holy shit, this is
They've
phenomenal.
Innovated table setting. Yeah.
So I think anyone can really learn like that. That would be my thought anyways. I don't know if that's true, but.
Oh, okay. So
isn't that the basis of iron sharpens iron?
Is learning.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the iterative process. I'm talking about the hyper focus on one subject.
Sure.
More than the iterative process. Because I think the essence of learning is iterations and improvement on previous iterations. And in fact, in my philosophy, the essence of having children is that the next generation, the generation that you produce, one of your goals as a being having produced the next generation is trying to make them a better iteration than your generation was.
Right.
But that's a whole different topic again. And let's not go off on a tangent on that philosophy just now. Maybe sometime in the future. But where I was going with that is I ran across a story. Have you heard about the CRISPR twins that were born in China?
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay. Have you heard about what the gene edit that was done to them was supposed to do? Do you know how familiar are you with the story?
Yeah. So that's the gene that allows HIV to infect someone, correct? I think that's what they were trying to do.
That's the doctor who did this debatably unethical CRISPR edit to these embryos before they were implanted into a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Was trying to edit in a defense against HIV, which the goal, as noble as it might be, it's still, it's human testing, and there's a whole ethical quandary about that about what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But what's an interesting possible side effect is that he may have inadvertently given us enhanced intelligence in these twins as well.
So I've seen headlines about this. I primarily browse the internet with 2 different ad blockers running and in incognito mode. The places that I see...
Yeah, our source document says that you might not be able to see this source because you run incognito mode.
No, it's not might not. It just flat out wouldn't give me the content. So
okay.
I saw the headline in 3 different places. All 3 of them wouldn't show me content because I was either ad blocking or in an incognito mode. So I don't know the details. Whenever I see headlines that are just speculation, most of the time I don't even bother clicking them. Because I'm not going to get any, I'm going to kind of get an overview of some science or some new tech or, whatever the thing is, that there's something that has happened in this space. But I care so little about stuff that isn't already in practice that I just keep getting into this place where I can't talk myself into clicking these things. But I saw this in the list of articles and I tried to, or topics rather. I tried to pull it up and look through it, but I obviously couldn't. What is it exactly that makes them think that they've done something to modify the intelligence of these impending children?
Okay, so here's the deal. The gene that he edited is called CCR5. We know that CCR5 is what AIDS uses to gain or HIV uses to gain entrance into the cell structure and then be able to replicate. Without that, HIV can't replicate and it can't spread.
Okay.
But another thing that this gene is linked to is the ability to recover after stroke and memory recollection. So it's not related to a better ability to recall memory. It's actually related to the degradation of your memory recollection. So what they're thinking it might do, or one of the things they're thinking that it might do, is give these twins the ability to have much better recall of information than they would have had if they hadn't been edited. And
advanced recall, there are two different memory, two different superhuman memory types, right? It's the photographic memory and then eidetic. Those aren't the same thing, right?
Right.
So I think eidetic is like masterful recall, right? Is that correct?
I think that's correct.
The way I call it is episodic and I can't remember the term now, but it's basically procedural and episodic is the way I call it. And so episodic is you remember a specific time, a specific place, and actions or words or something that, you know, it's as if you took a photograph and you can remember that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But procedural is how you do things, how you go about, almost like muscle memory, but for like how you make a breakfast. Not necessarily dealing with muscles, just the steps and how you do something.
Okay.
Like I have great procedural memory, but my episodic memory is terrible.
That's why you're a good systems person in IT. So much of that is procedural.
Right. Which is, it's surprising that you never remember that we went backwards through the drive-thru at Zaxby's.
Yeah.
But I do.
Well, what's funny about that is I remember talking about it, but I don't remember actually doing it. So it makes me think
we did it. I swear we did it, John.
Misremembering. Okay.
But anyways, so the this gene is known to be a part of this system and a part of this system that prevents some memory or recollection for some reason. I don't exactly know how that would work, but the loss of this gene is actually linked to better recovery from stroke, better ability to recall, I guess, episodic memory.
Okay.
That's an assumption I'm making, just to be clear. But the biggest problem with really being able to tell if it actually did increase these, they're twin girls. If it did increase these girls' ability to recall or learn or anything like that, is we don't have any, we don't have like another exact copy of these girls that didn't get edited to test against.
Yeah, there's no control. Jinx.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
So without the control, you can't really say, oh, well, they wouldn't have been this smart if they hadn't have been edited.
right. Well,
unless they're just really smart.
Yeah, this is based on the assumption was based on tests they did in mice, if I remember correctly, and that's why they think that this is also the case, that just happens to coincidentally be linked to memory.
So the mice showed an enhanced recall ability.
Yes.
Okay.
What I'm interested to see that spawns from this is I wonder if there's something here for dementia and Alzheimer's, because those are neurodegenerative diseases.
Good job.
Woo.
I saw you struggle there.
Yeah.
You got it though. Good job.
And
yeah, that would be interesting.
And because that is literally, the axiom of nerves in your brain degenerate.
Yeah.
And that's I was doing it's actually interesting segue. I started drinking coffee a while back. I don't know if I told you this, that has lion's mane in it. It's a mushroom, and it's been known to encourage regeneration of the axiom of nerves in your brain. And so the theory is that it will help combat memory loss. It helps you recall short-term memories.
Have we seen an enhanced effect at all?
I don't know if it's placebo, but I feel like that. And also lion's mane is really interesting because it has allegedly mood enhancement as well. So, you're supposed to be in a better mood. You have a better recall.
Okay. Is the coffee good?
It's pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I mean, I just have it black, and it's got chaga mushrooms in it too, which are like really heavy antioxidant mushrooms, really good for your immune system. So
I feel like mushrooms and coffee sounds terrible, but I'd be willing to try.
yeah, I mean,
I'm a coffee guy.
I don't taste the mushrooms. It's got like it's like a sweet, almost like maybe like a little bit of earthy tone to it, but
umami.
Not. Yeah, it's not overpowering. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, I was this made me think of that specifically because I dated someone a while back whose mother-in-law had Alzheimer's really bad. And Seth Rogen does the hilarity for charity thing, where he, is for Alzheimer's as well. And so I'd be interested to see if this kind of transforms into that.
It just occurred to me that you said you dated a woman whose mother-in-law,
or not mother-in-law. Sorry. Her grandma.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you were dating a married woman.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Yeah. Her mom's mom is what I meant to say. Her grandma.
That's funny.
I don't know why I was thinking of mother-in-law. That's weird.
Did you guys see the study that came out that
Maybe
showed
that lion's mane isn't working too well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Did you guys see the study that came out that showed the link between gum disease and Alzheimer's?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
I brushed my teeth
did not hear about
extra that day and then slipped back into my bad habits.
Yeah. I haven't been to a dentist in a really, really long time. It's been years and years and years. And seeing that
Suddenly
article,
in the last month, he's been 3 times.
Yeah. Seeing that article made me go research it, and that wasn't just a one-off article. This is it's looking really good that this may actually be the cause, and they can vaccinate against it.
Yeah,
if it's true, they can vaccinate.
Oh wow!
And so this is also pays
That's
more
huge.
credence to like sugars are bad, right? Because sugars really kind of screw you up there.
Yeah.
So the refined sugar.
Yeah, for sure. So now I brush my teeth after every meal.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, even growing up, they're like twice a day. Just do it twice a day, and anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Seems legit.
Well, it's been an interesting night of conversation. Hopefully, we get more than half of it published. We'll find out about that.
Yeah, Mike decided to click stop on his recording.
I did not click stop.
I hope you actually did. I hope you were just like, I'm gonna fuck this up and just hit stop.
I wonder what this square does. Oh, hey, John.
Yeah, well, Matt, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a nice
cool.
setup.
Oh yeah,
dude.
definitely.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
We need to find a way to. It's hot in here. It gets hot in here.
See, I
have
think
on a jacket.
I know I like this. I know earlier I mentioned I prefer cold.
Yeah.
Because I can layer up, but this is a comfortable temperature for me. I sit in my house. I sit warm.
Psychopath. So what's interesting? I heard a guy mention on Game Grumps. Actually, do you know Game Grumps, Matt?
Mm-mm.
Game Grumps is a YouTube channel. It's a Let's Play. It's like what we do.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. They have a segment on their show called 10 Minute Power Hour, which is it's most of the time
it's crazy.
It's stupid, but a lot of times it's really funny. And it is chaotic, and it's just loud and boisterous, and there's lots of physical activity. It's physical comedy. And they not in a Power Hour episode, in just one of their regular game episodes, they made the comment that one of the hosts was complaining that the chairs they use for the Power Hour segment are falling apart, that they're just rickety and they're wobbly, and it hurts his back. And the guy, Aaron, the guy who is the kind of the main guy for the show, made a statement that just, like, I went back and replayed it a couple of times, and all he said was, he's like, yeah, we should probably get those fixed, but it adds to the chaotic energy of the show. And I remember thinking, like, that's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. And he kind of embraced these shitty chairs and hasn't been willing to get rid of them because it does something to them as hosts.
Yeah.
It's on their mind that at any moment this chair could just drop out from underneath them.
Right.
And so it makes them act differently. And I was like, man, that's like everything in your environment is influencing your ability to do whatever it is you're doing. And, I'm sitting here thinking it's hot and all I want to do is leave. So it probably makes me sound rushed. Whereas you're thinking, like, this isn't bad. This is comfortable. I can stay here for a little while. It's having an effect on us. And that's interesting. It's adding to the chaotic energy of the show.
Yeah.
And I guess in our case, it's probably not chaos, but
It
confusion.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw
The thought sweat is flowing.
Oh, gross. On that note.
Hey, I wonder what this stop button does.